Hello friends, welcome back. All right, so we are here now for the freelance editor Q&A part 2. I didn't want this Q&A to be 45 minutes long, so I just split it into 2 parts. You can go watch part 1 here if you have not already seen it. But yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right back into the questions and wrap up all of these amazing questions that I received from you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the next question is, how do you become an editor from home? What do you charge? How thorough do you need to be, etc.? So how do you become an editor? How do you work from home? How do you become a freelance editor? I have had a bunch of people ask this question, and I'd say first and foremost, you need to have a passion for it and you need to be dedicated to it, because I'm definitely tired of seeing a bunch of people offering editing services who aren't qualified, because then not only are they providing low quality work to the people that are hiring and paying them, but they're also making the rest of us look bad in some cases. So first and foremost, if you want to be an editor, whether you want to be a developmental editor or a copy editor, or maybe you want to be a ghostwriter, whatever it is that you want to be, if you want to freelance, take classes. I cannot stress this enough. Do not just make a website and call yourself an editor, because I don't believe that that's appropriate, and I don't think it's fair to the people that want to hire you. So start by taking classes. I highly recommend classes through the Editorial Freelancers Association. That's how I got started. That's how I got my base foundation of skills, on top of which I do have a degree in English with a concentration in creative writing. So I do have the paper trail essentially to back up what I'm doing here. But even if you don't have a degree in English or in literature or in writing or anything like that, you can always take classes through the EFA. I know that here in Colorado there is an entire publishing program that I could take if I wanted to. So always look for a teacher, look for a mentor, look for somebody to teach you how to do this. That's where I would get started, because if you want to be serious about this, then you're going to have to put in some money up front to learn how to do this to the best of your ability, and you need to learn from people who really know what they're doing. I know that the woman who taught the proofreading class that I took, she has been in the industry for 35 years. So I was learning from somebody who has spent their life doing this. So don't just think that you can set up a website and start calling yourself an editor, because you're going to have some really unhappy clients if you do that. And then I would also say, on top of that, once you've started taking classes and you feel like, okay, I have a good foundation, I'd say set up your website and offer free edits. This is what I did when I started. I started off by offering 5 free edits so that I could not only draw in some clients and give them free work, but it was a really good way to practice my skill and then get feedback from the people I was working for. And because it was free, all the authors had to do was trust me with their work. They didn't have to pay me a penny. So you can definitely generate interest in that way, because if you have no portfolio and no experience, people are not going to pay you $30 an hour to edit their work for them, because they can't trust you. You have no portfolio and you can't back yourself up. So I would definitely say take classes and then start by offering free edits to a select group of people. Let's see what to charge. You can use that editorial rates that I just showed you, or something else that's really helpful is looking at other editors that are, what am I trying to say? Looking at other editors who have tried and true businesses that have been doing it for a while. Look at what they're charging and then charge less than that, because if you're a beginner, you're not going to be charging what somebody who's been doing this for 15 years is charging. So make sure that you're lowering your price a little bit to kind of match your experience level. How thorough to be? 100% thorough. Again, if you're offering your skills as an editor to somebody, you should never cut corners. You should never pretend to be qualified for something that you're not. You have to work incredibly hard for every single client, and you need to be 100% honest about the skills that you can have and what you can do for those clients. Because I have talked to some people who have been totally burned by really bad editors, and it is a terrible business practice, and you will not last long if you're being insincere about what you can do for people. Yeah, so a lot of questions. This next question, best ways to become a freelance editor without formal college education. So while having a degree does help, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good editor just because you have an English degree. So again, I'm just going to have to go back to take classes. That's the best way to get started. So yeah, that's going to continue being the answer for most of these questions. The next one, how do I know when to start freelance editing? How do I know if my skills are at that level? Take classes. Some classes at the EFA are like self-paced. Some classes are taught by an instructor who will edit your work and like grade the work that you're doing. So just get started there and then offer free services to people. Next question, do I approach authors to become their editor, or is it mostly them coming to you, and is that the norm? Up to this point, I have never approached someone to become their editor. All of my editing clients have found me and approached me. However, as a member of the Editorial Freelancers Association, I do have access to their job listing, so members can post jobs. And that is something that I would definitely try in the future if I felt like, oh, I don't have any clients right now and I need to pick up some more clientele. I could definitely apply for those jobs, but up until this point, all of my clients have approached me. What software do you use was another question. I just use Microsoft Word with track changes, and then I also have a subscription to the Chicago Manual of Style. Next question, how long do you spend on each part of the editing process when you have clients? So there aren't really different parts of the editing process for me. If I have a copy editing client, then that is all that I'm focusing on, is a very, very tedious copy edit. But I wouldn't really say that there's different parts of the editing process when I'm working with clients, because they hire me for a very specific part of the process. If they're hiring me for copy editing, that's all I'm doing. So that's the only chunk of the editing process that I'm working on. I have never had a client hire me for multiple things. I've only ever done very specific targeted work for each client. Next question, how do you deal with difficult clients? Do you have any horror stories? So because I work for myself, I have never worked with any clients that I felt were going to be problematic. If I feel like a client is going to be hard to work with, then I just don't work with them. And I have no horror stories. All of the clients I have ever worked with have been absolutely amazing. I love all of my clients. They have been friendly, professional, just wonderful. Like, they have been lovely to work with. So I know it's fun to hear horror stories, but I don't have any, because I have had amazing clients. I just realized that my beautiful blue screensaver was off, so we have it turned back on now. Next question is, what is your favorite part of being an editor? Oh man, there are so many things I love. I'd say the first thing that I love is getting to help authors with their books. I am so passionate about stories and bringing stories to life. I would love to become an indie publishing house one day. Like, Enchanted Ink Publishing is a publishing house, but I'm not at the point where I know how to professionally publish other people's books. So editing is a really good way for me to kind of have my hand in somebody else's work and help them along the way, whether they are seeking traditional publication or self-publication. I love being able to be a stepping stone essentially in their journey. So I'd say that's the number one thing I love about it. The second thing I love about it is that it's my business and I get to work from home in my office. I am 100% a homebody. I'm incredibly introverted, and I cannot work for other people. I cannot tell you, we could have a whole story time on the number of jobs I have quit because I cannot work for a boss. I just struggle so hard. So getting to work for myself at home, drinking my tea, hanging out with my cats, it works incredibly well for my mental health and just who I am. So I love that. And then the third thing that I love about it is that I get to catch typos for a job. I catch typos everywhere I go. At the grocery store, on like advertising billboards, on signs or magnets that people put on their cars advertising their businesses, everywhere. In mail that I'm sent, I caught stuff in advertisements sent by a jeweling company, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should reach out to them and offer to be their copy editor because they need help. Like, I love catching typos and errors, so that's the third best thing about being a copy editor. is that I get to do that for my job during the day, and it's amazing. Ooh, good question. What are common writing mistakes you see? On like a craft level, I see people doing telling instead of showing all the time. All the time I see telling rather than showing. And then on like a more copy editing level, I guess you could say, I see people making a bunch of mistakes with hyphenation, with em dashes, with punctuation. Like punctuation is a big one that I see because a lot of the time word processors can't pick up on proper or improper punctuation. You know, a word processor can pick up on words that are terribly misspelled, so that helps, but a word processor can't pick up on tedious punctuation. So I see punctuation errors all the time, of course spelling errors and formatting errors and stuff like that. But every writer is a little bit different and everybody has a different struggle. You know, I've even had authors who accidentally like switch names of their main character halfway through the book. So like funny little like lighthearted stuff like that. I also see people that struggle sometimes with POV. So somebody might be writing in first person but then accidentally slip into third person, or tense. You know, they're writing in present tense and accidentally slipping into past tense. So those are some common ones that I see, but everybody is different. Every writer has different strengths and weaknesses, and as an editor, it's my job to work with those, to enhance their strengths and clean up their weaknesses, essentially. So, Tifa is yelling at me for food. There he goes. So I need to wrap this up so I can go feed Tifa. That's another part of working at home and being an editor that I love. It's being here for the cats. So thank you so much to everybody who sent me a question. I really appreciate it. This year, especially in 2020, I'm really focusing on editing. I'm focusing on expanding my skill set. I'm focusing on reaching new clients and just growing my business. So I really appreciate that you guys sent me so many wonderful questions and gave me the opportunity to film this video for people that are interested in either hiring a freelance editor or becoming a freelance editor. If you have any more questions, if I need to clarify anything, please drop them in the comments down below, and I might just start an entire series of editing stuff. I started like the Red Pen Records or something that was going to be a series of editing videos, and I think I'd like to revive that. I'll probably put this in that playlist. So yeah, any more questions, comments, suggestions, leave them down below. I'm going to go fill up my tea because it is gone, and then I'm gonna hop right back into editing. I have a sample edit to do and also a manuscript critique that I'm working on. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video and for joining me today, and I'll see you in my next one. All right, goodbye.